On the agenda tonight, we're going to be having a listen to Bobby Ferrin, and he's going to be performing Encore From Tokyo. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, we'll jump into this one. As always, there's a link in the description below if you guys want to check this out and watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it. We are going to be having the pitch monitoring software on screen, but it's going to look a little bit different for this particular performance, and I'll explain why once we get into it. But let's jump into it and see how Bobby gets on. And there we have it. I mean, that was just absolutely amazing on so many different levels. And I mean, this analysis video could go on for years just picking that apart, because we're going all the way back to the beginning. The first thing, and by the way, explaining what's going on screen here, if you haven't watched my channel before, you're probably really confused as to what's going on. This is showing Bobby's voice plotted on a pitch graph. And this one on the left-hand side, I've made it tighter because of the range, because he's arpeggiating chords, meaning singing notes from chords. You might have heard this piece played on a piano. So Bobby is simulating a piano with his voice. So because of the range, the distance between the notes, between the top and the bottom note, on the right hand side you can't see all of the notes because it has to try and jump to catch them all really quickly. So that's why I made it a lot tighter. Now, obviously the thing to point out is that when these lines are a lot tighter together, it will look like he's on the lines pretty much all the time with all of these notes. And he's really, really close. It's massively impressive. But then on the right hand side, I've done that just so you can see that when you do start to zoom in and you're a little bit closer, that it's not always on these lines. But this performance is a standalone performance because when you're watching a singer, the singer is listening to the accompaniment and they are placing their pitch on what they hear. And more often than not, they're going to be hearing, stringed instruments which drift sharp and flat. And that's why great vocalists hit the best frequency. And it's definitely not always on these lines. But here, the reason this is a unique situation is because Bobby is trying to simulate a piano. He's trying to get on these lines because this is what a piano is tuned to. A440 standard pitch, standard tuning. So he's aiming for these lines. Obviously he can't see them. So, so many things to point out. When I say that he can't see the lines, what I find really interesting is the way that he vocalizes and is obviously using mental imagery. He's pretending that he's playing a stringed instrument, or he's moving his hand, as if he would be playing a double bass, for example, up and down, the neck. So when he goes to a higher note, he comes further up because the higher notes are down there and the lower notes are up there. So that's what he's doing when he's singing. I say singing, when he's vocalizing these notes. He's giving himself that mental imagery. Even at the end, I just want to take this back, but I think he was doing vibrato. Yeah, you can see it move there. Just let it play. See that little movement? Just using that side-to-side vibrato, but obviously thinking that he's doing that, but that's simulating the sound of what he's doing on the instrument with his voice. With great singers, you often see this kind of thing, mental imagery of putting their hand in a particular place and, getting lighter and kind of, as they get up into head voice, to go, ooh, they might do something like that, with their hand, but it's different for every singer as to what they do. But sometimes like Mariah Carey, if she did a little run, she would do that with her hand as if she's almost ticking off the notes as she goes, down her vertical keyboard that she's playing. But it's that mental imagery to get the vocal cords to hit the notes that you want them to. But anyway, let's get back to this. First of all, breathing, breath support, control, vocal cord closure, airflow across vocal cords. There's so much going on before we even start. This is just as important, this part. You can see that already he's thinking about these notes that he's about to play. Play, vocalize. So already, this is something that you will see with deep sea divers who are holding their breath. You can tell when you're listening to this, you totally forget, and it's because Bobby's so good, you totally forget, apart from the breaths, that he has to breathe because he's a human. These notes that he's hitting, the amount of notes and vocal cord closure that he's getting for each breath is insane, considering where he's going. So have a listen to it again. That is just crazy. He did that all in that one breath. Oh, wow. So, just from that standpoint, even if you're not looking at the accuracy of the notes that he's hitting, that is borderline unbelievable to have that kind of control. Now, in order to achieve this, it's all about control. If he was using too much air, air in this performance is the most precious commodity of all, because if he runs out of air too early, he's going to have to keep on breathing, which means he's not going to finish the arpeggio of the chord that you would be playing on the piano. Oh, I said that this could go on for years, and it probably will. But, so taking this back, and the reason that it's so good, again, when we're looking through this, as I said, the pitch accuracy is crazy. It's going to look more accurate on the left-hand side than the right-hand side, because here you could say arguably a little bit flat of the G4, but just still insanely accurate, and that looks like it's directly over the line, the G4 on the left-hand side, because it's all squashed together. But the most important thing that we're talking about pitch-wise is your root note, your key. So when you're playing this on the piano, the low note is giving you the reference point for all of the other notes that you're about to hear. So when you come back to that note, you have to be spot on, because if you miss it, then your ear will tell you you're changing key, and what we're hearing is about to be another key, another arpeggio from a different key. So that's why it is so important. So I'm going to take this back and we're going to have a listen. The reason that I'm making these noises is because all the things I'm thinking of in my head that I'm going to try and explain, I won't have time to explain everything, because yeah, it will literally be years. So here, the E3, the that point, and by the way, range, he's going up to a B4 there. So that's another thing, that his technique is just so good, being able to jump up from, you know, the E3, this is the B3, the B4, so he's doing 2 octaves worth of arpeggios, you know, and that's what you would have on a piano. So being able to do this vocally is just on a totally different level, because, you know, if you're singing a song, having 1 octave from the verse to the chorus is great, but doing this constantly with this vocal technique and keeping the tone consistent, that's another thing. You know, he's not straining when he gets up here. So yeah, this is just totally on a different level. But anyway, so the E3, that's giving you that reference point for all of these other notes that he's hitting. When he comes back down again, look at how accurate he is with this E3 again. And here, you know, he's slightly flat of the E3. It obviously looks quite close here, but you can see it's a little bit further off on the right-hand side. But this is still insane intervals, you know, the accuracy with which he's hitting these. And this has to be spot on throughout the whole performance, so that you know the key, you know the chord that he's singing. And now look how we changed to the D3. We had a little bit of, you know, it wasn't kind of super on, you know, hitting that note on the line, but he was more on it than he was off it. And you can see how we changed from the E3. And this is how we now know, listening to it, that he's changed chord. Obviously, he hasn't changed chord. He's singing single notes. But we know the chord from his accuracy. And again, here, D3. And here, slightly flat of the D3. But this is where all of his other accuracy makes up for this, being kind of between notes. Look at that, spot on, spot on, spot on. So it means that you're hearing the arpeggio of the chord, the notes of the chord, really accurately. So when you come down, you already know, because we've heard it before, we already know where he's going down to. But let's just listen to the next part. I mean, have a look at this. I mean, this is probably the best imitation. And I know that, yeah, you know, if you're looking at it in real detail, and if I were to zoom in even closer to this, then the bits where we're not directly on the lines, where we're kind of flat and a little bit sharp here, and technically a bit sharp here, but then on the line here, and then on the line here, and arguably on the line here again, and a little bit on the line here, because this is somebody imitating a piano. He is so good at this. Looking at hitting notes, this is the most accurate that I've ever seen. But the good thing is, when we talk about pitch correction, this being the most accurate I've ever seen, when you look at it really strictly, you can say, well, yeah, he is missing notes, but he's so accurate that it sounds like it is the chord. So yeah, it's great that it's the most accurate you'll ever see, especially when you look at it over here and you see the lines kind of a little bit more squashed in, that it looks like he's spot on all the time. But yeah, it is good because it shows you actually how stupid pitch correction is. That pitch correction is more accurate than Bobby. And I've never heard anyone as accurate as this outside of pitch correction. Yeah, when it's digitally manipulated, of course, it's going to be on the lines all the time. And just to mention about changing pitch this quickly, vocal cord flexibility, that's another thing. It is just another thing to add to the list of technique that we've got going on here. Vocal cord flexibility, in order to have the range to get up there, to kind of thin out the vocal cords, you know, to get up to this kind of B4 and, you know, top end of the male tenor range, but then coming all the way down 2 octaves lower, the vocal cord flexibility is on a different level. But not only that, the vocal cord control and muscle memory to jump to these notes in a split second, because a lot of singers will change from one note to the next and it will take a little bit of time for them to do that. So when we're looking at this, I mean on the right hand side, look at how vertical this is. So this is showing you, if you were to have a slow slide, you'd see a more diagonal line. This has happened in a split second, this C sharp 4 to the F sharp 4. I mean, it is almost vertical. It's about as close as you can get to vertical. And the reason that that's so impressive is when you watch this, have a look at the chart. The chart is constantly moving because it's time-based and it's plotting notes against time and it's constantly scrolling. This vertical line pretty much has happened over a period of time, but it's so quick it looks like it's just going straight up. And I don't think I've ever seen that on the pitch monitoring software with any voice, a slide this quick. But not only that, paired with the accuracy, and yeah, again, you know, close enough to the B4 for it to register as a B4. This isn't pitch corrected. That's why it's so impressive. And we can see that it isn't because, you know, even somebody of Bobby's ability, he's still just super accurate, but not on lines, you know, of pitch correction. So, I mean, this is massively impressive. This is the thing about vocal cords is no matter how much you want them to be, they aren't a piano. It isn't, you know, just a case of hitting a key and then a sound being produced. They have to be moved. The vocal cords have got to be either lengthened or shortened to these pitches. They can't just go there instantaneously. They have to go through the process. So when you're going from a really high note to a low note, those vocal cords have got to go from one position to another position. They can't instantly, you know, like teleport to the note that you want. And that's why this is, again, so impressive, because this is as close to vocal teleportation as you're ever going to hear. But, you know, like I said, it really does take it to a whole nother level. But even when I say that, you know, I know the people that have watched the pitch correction videos will start to appreciate that even somebody as accurate as this is not digitally manipulated. This is literally the human voice, and Bobby's vocal cords doing this. That's why it's so impressive that he's being able to do this so accurately. And yeah, I'm sure maybe on YouTube there might be other people that are doing this kind of thing and using pitch correction, and people might be really impressed by it. But this is the real deal, and trust me when I say it. And you guys know that I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of analysis videos on the human voice and looking at it in supreme detail. This is the real deal. Bobby's actually doing this with his voice. He even does little slides in there as well. You know, at the end of a phrase, he'll kind of go, no, ooh. He'll kind of do a little slide in a section and take a breath as well, just before getting into the next part. The other thing is how quickly he takes his breath, but how deeply he can get that breath to be. You know, having a big breath means that usually you go like that, but he's getting all of that air in that kind of thing. So again, that's all about learning to breathe properly. And when I say that, you know, not just to stay alive, but learning to breathe properly from the diaphragm, and you know, having that almost shock of taking in a lot of air, but taking it in the right way, so that once you take in the air and you've got that, you're now holding, you know, you could hear there that my voice sounded a bit compressed because the air's taken, but then you're holding it. It's against your vocal cords, so that now what Bobby's doing is he's got all of that pressure behind his vocal cords, and he's holding back the air and only allowing enough air through to create these notes. So this is why the airflow is just so good. And that's why I said that air in this performance is just, yeah, the most precious commodity, because it allows it to be possible in the first place. I'm not even listening, so I'm appreciating looking at these lines. I know that you probably can't see what I'm seeing in the detail, but because I've looked at so many kind of vocal lines, I mean, just there are so many things that stand out as being super amazing. Like this F sharp 3 to the E4. He's gone up, you know, just under an octave, and look how quickly he's done it, but look how accurate he's done that. And, you know, we will listen to it as well, but because I'm so used to looking at these lines, when I'm looking at lines that are doing amazing things, it's just great to look at them. And these notes, again here, C4 up to the A4, he's now picking out these notes of the chord. He's arpeggiating the chord with slides and applying vibrato. Oh, that's too low. Oh, it's down there. F2. Oh, is it there? Oh. I'm just trying to see if I can even get the notes. Yeah. And the way that he's doing it, he's going. He's making it sound more like a stringed instrument. So yeah, again, manipulating tone is another side of it. That's what he's doing. You know, all that kind of stuff. Not going, oh, you know, and making it sound like somebody's voice. He's definitely getting that instrumental quality to it, which, you know, when you bundle all of this together, this is why I think this performance is just amazing. It's on a totally different level. You'll never see anything else like this. And everything that he's doing with his voice is achieving the end goal of being artistically credible and melodic with the arpeggiation of chords. So all of the technique you don't have to think about. You can just appreciate or enjoy the performance because it's that good. That all of the work that Bobby's put into it, you know, you don't have to worry about that. You enjoy the final result. But yeah, there's so much in this, it's absolutely crazy. But anyway, thank you guys for requesting this particular video for me to take a look at. Keep those suggestions and requests for future videos coming in the comment section below. As always, let me know what you guys think. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!